Let's get after it. Chris Graham here. We're going to talk UVA basketball. I'm going to look forward first. We'll talk about the Boston College game coming up tomorrow night, and then we'll look back a little bit at North Carolina and uh and then some columns thereafter. Apologize for not doing this podcast a day sooner. I meant to do it yesterday, and yesterday ended up being a weird sick day for me. I had to get an MRI. Some test number came back zero point 0.1 over what it should have been, and the doctor, being the doctor, ordered some tests, and the MRI just knocked me down. It's weird. I've had MRIs before, at least I thought I had, and I don't remember the metallic stuff they give you knocking you down like that. And I'm taking a 2.5 hour nap, and that just completely threw me off. So we're here now. Ooh, man, I tell you what, beware of that metallic stuff that goes in your stomach. Virginia tomorrow night needs to beware. Boston College, Chestnut Hill, not an easy place to play for a different reason than a lot of places aren't easy places to play. It's not because of the deafening wall of sound, it's because of the deafening silence. 9 o'clock tip tomorrow night on ESPNU. And it's kind of place that doesn't draw a lot of fans, and you need to create your own energy. And Virginia last year, around this time last year, in fact, went up to Chestnut Hill with a pretty good team. The team that ended up tying for the ACC regular season championship and got swamped up there, 63-48 loss. And that team could have afforded a loss like that. I mean, nobody wants to lose, but this team can't afford a loss tomorrow night. With 3 losses in the last 4 games, Virginia is clearly on the just barely on the right side of the NCAA tournament bubble. Not that it matters all that much, but I looked this morning at Joe Lunardi, and he has Virginia currently as one of the last 4 in, and that's with BC and Duke this week on the road, and Georgia Tech the only game next week before the ACC tournament. I think at this stage, Virginia needs 2 wins at least in its last 3, and probably then a win in Washington in the ACC tournament. So 3 wins overall to stay on the proper side of the bubble. I don't know if that's the biggest concern, though. This team right now is just not playing good basketball. And that's basketball goes in cycles. Virginia last year, this time of year, went through a similar downturn for a few days. I remember the law last year. It was reverse order. It was a loss to maybe it was the same order. It seemed like the law. No, it was Boston College first, in North Carolina, both on the road. It was a kind of a tough week there, and then Virginia was able to rebound late in the season and tie Miami for the ACC regular season title. That's not going to happen this year, as far as tying for the ACC regular season title or anything like that. But Virginia's in a lull. The 54-44 loss to North Carolina being the latest in the lull felt like an opportunity lost. Great defensive effort, holding Carolina to by far its season low in points, 54 points. Just for perspective, RJ Davis, who made one shot, 1 for 14 from the floor against Virginia on Saturday, had 42 himself last night, 14 of 22 shooting in a narrow win over a Miami team that was depleted. 75-71 win for Carolina in that one against a Miami team with 2 starters out. Yeah, that was an opportunity loss for Virginia. Carolina, I wrote going into the game, was very much ripe for the picking. Going into that game was just 3-3 in its last 6. Virginia just couldn't put the ball in the basket. BC, just to give you a little bit on the Eagles, they're coming in off of a pair of road losses last week at Florida State, at NC State. The Eagles are 15-12, 6-10 in the ACC, but when I looked at their schedule and results, they've been in every game this year. They've not been blown out once, and that's unlike Virginia, which has been blown out 7 times with a 20-win record. Looking at this BC team, you'll see a lot of familiar names. Quentin Post is the one that's probably most familiar. He had 24 points against Virginia and JPJ last year in the loss by BC. He's averaging just under 16 points and 8 rebounds a game. Shoots 50.8% from the field and 44.3% from 3 as a 7-footer. That tells you he's got some skills. He can get on the perimeter and score. He can bang in the post. The other big is 6'7", 230-pound sophomore Devin McLaughlin, 10.6 points, 6.7 rebounds per game, 58.6% field goal, 33.3% three. Doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he can make them. The starting backcourt, 3-member backcourt, 1 transfer, Charleston Southern transfer, Claudell Harris, 13.7 points a game, shoots 37.6% from 3. He's a guy who's made the transition from small college ball to the ACC. We know that all the talk about how tough it's been for Andrew Rohde to make the transition. I like to say there's plenty of examples of guys who do make that transition, and this Claudel Harris kid's one of them, 6'3" junior. The point guard is a 6'2", 220-pounder, Jaden Zachary, 11.7 points, 4.3 assists a game, shoots 35.6% from three. And at 6'2", 220, he's a thick little kid there. He can be tough to, he's not necessarily the quickest guy out there, but he can be a little beastly around the rim there. The other guard is Mason Madsen, scores 8.5 points a game, shoots 46.9% from three. Watch out for Madsen. And one bench guy of note, a guy named Donald Hand. Yeah, and he's the son of that guy. 6'5" sophomore, this Donald Hand. He played his high school ball in Virginia. He's at BC, scoring 5.6 points a game, shooting 37.7% from three. So watch out for Hand. And he's playing a little better of late, or getting more minutes of late. 7.5 points per game and 14.3 minutes per game in his last four. He had 11 points in the loss to NC State over the weekend. So watch out for him, and you'll hear the name, and you'll wonder, maybe why we didn't get him. So how this matchup goes, in the way I'm looking at it anyway, we've scored, we being Virginia. I'll use the collective we, the royal we. Virginia scored in the 40s in the last three games. BC is not a team that should hold you down. Defensively ranking 144th in KenPom. There's 362 teams, so that's in the upper half, but barely. And then in the ACC games, BC ranks 12th out of the 15 teams in points per possession. So the approach should be, whether it is or not, the Post, starting with Post, Quentin Post, all that offensive skill that he's got. There's a reason he's a senior at 7 feet tall, being able to shoot as well as he can from the floor in general and from three, and he's still in college. It's because he's not very mobile defensively. He's a liability on the defensive end. And if Virginia plays this right, they attack him in ball screens. You would ball screen with Beekman and Jordan Minor, Reese Beekman and Jordan Minor. You would basically make Post either have to get around the corner and keep Beekman from getting around the corner, and also then keep Jordan Minor from rolling, or just the switches there and get Minor on a small guard, and take advantage there. Minor is coming off a pretty good game, his first good game in a while. First game in a while, he had decent minutes. He had 12 points, 10 rebounds against Armando Bacot. Makes you wonder why he wasn't getting minutes there for a while before. You could also try screens, the ball screens with Beekman and Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn is invisible lately, only 4 points a game in his last eight, and I don't want to blame the kid for that. His skill set is what it is. He can screen, and he can roll off screens. He can finish when he's getting momentum towards the basket. He doesn't have dribble drive ability right now. He doesn't have perimeter ability, but he's a supreme finisher at the rack. He's just not getting those opportunities. Ball screens might create them for him. Spread the floor a little bit and give him and Beekman space to operate. And he's got the McLaughlin kid who's 6'7", 230. You got to think that Dunn's going to have a quickness and speed advantage over him in pick and roll situations. So would Beekman. I'm just wondering, well, why don't they, let's see if Virginia does some of that. I would run similar kind of things, perhaps. I mean, I'm more than perhaps, with Isaac McNeely and Jake Groves, if you got Groves in at the 4 spot for the minutes that he's there, with a 5 spot. Slip screens, where basically the big, in this case, Groves, looks to set a screen, or looks like he's going to set a screen, and then before the ball handler, and my rendering of that would be McNeely, before the ball handler gets there. And so what you do there is you make the two defenders have to choose which of the guys they're going to pick up. And in the confusion, maybe you get an open guy. Between those two guys, McNeely's shooting 45.1% from three, Groves shooting 48.7% from three. I like the chances to get some open looks out of that particular action. You make the 2 and the 4 choose. And, Virginia got beat on that action in the Pitt game. Pitt got 14 threes and 32 attempts by just running a lot of ball screens and slip screens. I think that this is an opportunity to get the offense back on track. I mean, I've been writing about this a lot this week. That those plays, those sets, I'm talking about ball screens and slip screens. Virginia ran a lot of those in the FSU game a couple of weeks ago now, more than a couple of weeks ago now. to great success, scored 80 points in a win. So it's something that can be done and could very well be done, but we'll see. This game again tips off tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Um, the let's see what I want to look through here, and I'll pick up where I just alluded. The blueprint for how to fix the offense. The last three games, scoring in the 40s. After the effort against Florida State, 80 points, shooting 50% from the field, 10 of 18 from three. Using 4 and 5 outsets, either one guy in the post actually posting up, not setting screens, or five guys out and the screens being set really high, either ball screens or off ball screens. That created a lot of openings, a lot of gaps, as it depends on what you call it, gaps in the middle there for either passes or backdoor cuts or for dribble drives. And Virginia did well in that game. Obviously scoring 80 points and shooting the numbers I talked about. Since Virginia's gone back, Tony Bennett's gone back to his favorite mover blocker offense, which is setting a big on either side of the lane, either low on the around the blocks or high, or one low and one high, or one high and one low, and running constantly. Just the guards are running around, trying to get through screens to get looks, and then the bigs get their looks either after setting a screen, popping out, or rolling to the basket. There's one other set that kind of goes in flow with that. The middle third screens, that instead of just having the guys set up the big set up on the side, there's one big in the middle, and the big and a guard are setting screens for each other and running off those screens in the middle of the floor. And that allows the ball handler out top to maybe choose to drive around it. That hasn't been working. Let's just say this, and it's not because the offense doesn't work. The offense won a national. The offensive philosophy and strategy and system won a national title 5 years ago. The system can work. It's just that the personnel for this year's system don't really suit the system. The personnel on the Virginia roster don't suit the system. You got Reese Beekman, a point guard, not his fault. Isaac McNeely at two guard. He's you're talking about guys in the mold of, well, Reese Beekman and maybe a Kyle Guy, or a London Parentes and a Kyle Guy. If they only played 1 year together, but I'm trying to think of guys who from years past and who they fit. But you don't have a third guard who can shoot. Andrew Rohde's been getting the bulk of the minutes there. He's no offense to the kid. He was a 17 point per game scorer last year in a smaller college setting. He's under 5 points a game. I think it's 4.5 points a game this season. Tane Murray can shoot, just doesn't shoot. he's very selective with his shots. Elijah Gertrude in mover blocker is a guy that right now is not a very not even an adequate perimeter shooter. Very good on the dribble drives, but he's not an adequate, to say the least, perimeter shooter. Jake Groves at 6'9" would be a great perimeter shooter, but he's also a little slow of foot. He's more of a big who should be getting looks off of pick and pops. Tony's been trying to use him as a third guard, but he's just not able to get off the screens fast enough to get looks off those screens. And Ryan Dunn, I just talked about him a minute ago. He's a guy that his offense is very derivative. I keep using that term, but he's not a guy who's going to dribble drive his way from the perimeter. He doesn't have a back to the basket game yet. Doesn't have a mid-range jumper. There's a lot he doesn't have. What he does have, though, is elite ability to finish at the rim. He's just not getting those looks in the mover blocker offense. So, I wrote a lengthy column earlier this week, and I'll link to it both on the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I'll have a link to the story so you can read more in depth there. If you're on the podcast, same thing. In the description of the podcast, you'll be able to get more detail here. But just not getting the kind of looks you need to get. A little frustrating that you're hearing from Tony. I'm hearing from Tony. He was on his Zoom conference call yesterday with ACC conference call. Basically, he signaled that it's just, hey, let's just run it harder. And I don't know that running the same offense that isn't working harder with the same personnel who don't fit the offense is going to necessarily work. I didn't put in the column, but I was thinking certainly as I was writing wrote a really lengthy analytical piece, and then I had another piece that I wrote with the quotes from Tony Bennett. But I was thinking in my head as I was working on the first piece, the offense I'm talking about that Virginia used so well in the Florida State game could give you a good excuse to use more minutes, get more minutes out of Elijah Gertrude, who got 19 in the North Carolina game. Credit to Tony Bennett. He did try to do some things different, at least in terms of personnel. He put Elijah into the mover blocker, and Elijah, I think he ended up scoring 6 points. He had one field goal made in 7 attempts, 4 of 8 from the foul line. But he gave him some good minutes on defense too. But in an offense that was ball screen heavy, and slip screen heavy, more ball screen heavy for him, but he could really do some damage with his quickness, his ball handling, his hops, his amazing freakish athleticism. His issue is playing in the mover blocker. He's just not disciplined enough to play in the mover blocker, and he's not enough of a perimeter threat. And so he doesn't fit there. But man, oh man, I'd love to see that kid unleashed in a offense with a little bit more freedom and creativity for the guards, especially the ball handling guards. So that could better take advantage of your personnel. I mean, Elijah Gertrude would be an upgrade in ball screen sets, a big upgrade over Andrew Rohde, who unfortunately just has no confidence in his shot right now. And he makes his shot and then he's done for the day, unfortunately. And that really throws the offense off when the defense doesn't have to respect an outside shooter. He's a guard who can't shoot from the outside. He's a guard who can't really get in the lane. He distributes the ball fine, doesn't turn the ball over, which is great. But Rhodey is not a threat in so many ways, and that that's part of the 2-1-5 aspect that Virginia's playing on offense right now. Um, so yeah, I've kind of gone through all of that column. Let's see if there was a uh, there was one question that came in, and it's in the context of that discussion. And I did a mailbag column. Again, I'll link to that both in the YouTube description and the podcast description. A reader asking about whether or not Virginia should try to speed the game up. And what I did was, I mean, this took a while. It took longer than I thought. And I did this yesterday while I was dealing with dye in my stomach that was making me feel ill. But you can go into Synergy Sports Data gives me a lot of access to numbers for teams, how they play offense in transition, how they play offense in the half court, defense in both areas. What I wanted to do was try to figure out because Virginia obviously is one of the slower teams in college basketball. In fact, tempo wise, the slowest team right now in college basketball. That's nothing new. It's a perennial staple for Tony Bennett teams. And a reason for that is really disciplined. Don't run in transition, score only in transition when it's really there. Um, Virginia's opportunities in transition this year. What did I figure out? It's the offensive possessions. Where did I put this? 8.5% of offensive possessions in transition, and that is, I think it was fourth to last in the NCAA Division One. The national median, I shouldn't say the average. I went to, in the middle of the 362 teams and try to figure out, where basically half below and half above are. It's 15.4%. So, just about 7% more, almost double the number of possessions as a percentage in transition for the average team, not even just the fast teams, just the average team. And so Tony's philosophy, and this is again, it won him a national championship. It's won him 6 ACC regular season championships in the last 10 years. The system works. It's just this year maybe the personnel don't fit the system as well. But um, what I wanted to do, the question was, can Virginia get more points if they speed up the game a little bit, try to go in transition more? It would throw things off. Tony's system is basically he wants to prevent transition opportunities. He doesn't want the other team. He's more concerned about the other team getting easy baskets than he's in favor of getting his team more easy baskets, if that makes sense, right? He figures that he can coach his team to be more effective in the half court game offensively, relative to the opponents being able to be effective offensively in the half court game. And if we can limit the number of opportunities in transition for the other team, then we'll win the game. Well, when you look at season long numbers, the numbers bear him out. Virginia is in half court defense averages allowing 0.804 points per possession. Opponents shoot 38% um, in half court offense against Virginia. The national averages are much higher. Virginia holds opponents 5% lower than the national average, the mean or the median, I should say. The median team allows 43.2% shooting and 0.905 points per possession. So Virginia is much better than the median defensive team. Um, and Virginia's transition defense is also better than the median, not that much better, but better. In transition, Virginia allows 1.021 points per possession, 47.9% field goal. The median team averages 50.8% field goal on defense. That's 3% worse than Virginia, higher than Virginia, and 1.043 points per possession. Um, when I looked at the Virginia offense, if you speed the game up to give Virginia the median number of possessions on offense in transition, it gives Virginia 0.58 more points per game, which I mean obviously less than a point per game, and then it would give the other team 0.65 more points per game defensively. It's basically a wash, but it's a wash in favor of Tony's philosophy. Now, what I can't factor for in this is, if Virginia gets away from forcing its players to play, a number of more possessions in half court versus in transition, would they be more effective in transition offensively? Um, but also, giving the opponents more possessions in transition, how would that affect Virginia's half court defense? I mean, there's a lot of factors there you can't control for, but when you just control for what you can control for, it's a slight advantage in Tony's favor. I didn't look at numbers from past seasons. The 2019 season will be a great example. I can only imagine that the numbers were much more pronounced in Tony's favor there. But this is the way he coaches basketball, and I know that there are fans frustrated at the way right now he coaches basketball because it doesn't seem to be working. But this is his system. He recruits to his system. It just turns out that it's not perhaps, the guys he's got playing in his key roles right now don't really fit 100% into his system. But that kind of is what it is. I would like, instead of the transition flip that was suggested by the reader, which I mean, I understand we're throwing stuff at a wall to see what fits the best, right? Or what sticks, I guess, is to go with that analogy. Um, I think that just tweaking the half court offense is the better solution. It still fits the system. It's still, you can run ball screens, you can run 4 and 5 out, you can post guys up, you can do things half court offensively and still maintain your balance you want to have where you're still able to get back in transition D and stop opponents from getting easy baskets and slow the game down and make it more of a grind than just speeding the game up for the sake of speeding the game up. I understand the thinking. Teams do score better in transition. We saw that from those median numbers. Teams score a lot better, shoot a lot better in transition, but it's just the way Tony plays. And there's in college basketball, there's so many different ways to play. Coaches, have a lot of there are a lot of different approaches to how to win a basketball game at the college level than there are at the pro level. This is Tony's way. And, so I guess I'm in favor more of advocating for fits that better fit what is already being done than just kind of throwing everything out and starting over because you can't do that in the middle of the season anyway. But certainly, for the stability, long-term stability of the program, I don't know that you just start over. I mean, this guy's successful. That's the other part of this. It's not like he's not successful. It's just this year, there are some things that can be done to make things a little better, and I think that we've kind of hit on some of those. So anyway, okay, all that said, tomorrow night, Boston College and Virginia, 9 o'clock. It's a late start, and that's a late night for those of us who only really get started working when the game's over. It'll be 11 o'clock or so when the game's over. what my job will be to let's see, I got right here. I got myself a Coke Zero. It'll be to load up on a few of those so I can have stories written covering the important aspects of the game, win or lose. And by God, we better win that one. So that when you wake up on Thursday morning, you'll have the ability to, read through it all, leaf through it. Because you'll watch the game. You'll be at 11 o'clock. A lot of you got to get up next morning early to go to work. So you won't be staying up and waiting for me to crank it all out. But it'll be cranked out and ready for you Thursday morning. So, and then we got Duke on Saturday. I'll try to get you ready for that before I head down there. I got a weekend down in North Carolina. I'm heading down to the Duke game, and I'm going as a fan. First time in 10 years, I've gone to a UVA basketball game as a fan, which will be very interesting, and going to a Duke game at that. And then Sunday, I'm going to the pro wrestling show, the AEW pay-per-view Revolution for Sting's retirement match. So big weekend for me in Carolina coming up. We'll get you ready for Duke as well. So if you have any questions for me, any thoughts that you want me to look into, address, whatever the case may be, you want to tell me I'm a bum, that's okay too. You can email me at chris@augustafreepress.com.